Hailey Williams, Pedals for Armor. Now, this isn't a brand new record. It came out this year, but kind of late to the party. Took a listen to it, and yeah, I mean, it. We're gonna dive into this record. Let's do a little backstory. From what I understand, it's her solo debut album. Yeah, I mean, she's a little bit older now, so she kind of puts that into the music, but I really can get into the messages or the tracks that she was really trying to portray. So let's go ahead and get into that. We got singles, Simmer, Dead Horse. There's plenty of videos that she shot for the record. There's about 15 tracks in total. So I guess it's all done in parts or stages. Right off the bat, I'm gonna say my favorite songs are, I believe it's Why We Ever. I believe that was one of the songs, and then Crystal Clear. And then I didn't like My Friend, but it's basically about like her friend and her guy friend. The backstory is pretty cool, but the song itself I just couldn't get into. So yeah, I would say those are the only two songs that I liked, and then that was the only song that made sense to me was that Friend song. It was produced by Taylor York. Not really sure why that went the way it did. And let's see, no features at all, so completely her. I believe it features some work from her band. But aside from that, that's pretty much it. I mean, the production is pretty much like electronic drums and or drum machines, and you've got a little bit of this and a little bit of that, like synth stuff going on. But for the most part, it's kind of just its own kind of composition. But for me personally, I just find all of the production and just I find all of it kind of weird. There is kind of a thread or theme throughout the album as far as her vocal style and her vocal texture, but that's the only thing that's really consistent. Everything else is kind of just all over the place as far as message. It's just kind of like a bunch of little songs put into one big song, and I'm just like, how it's hard to get into. So that's just my take on it and my kind of review for it. I haven't really gotten any requests to do any records, and this record has been on the sideline to my peripheral, and it's not something that I finally got around to. It was just something that I finally gave a chance to listen, because I was happy that she came out with a solo album. I just didn't know how it was gonna sound. But when I heard Why We Ever, then I decided to give the album a chance. I figured it was going to be like that record all the way throughout, and it just wasn't. It had like the texture, but it was just, like I said, the drums were, in and out on one track, missing in the other, just kind of, all over the place. And yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and say, give this record here a 2 out of 5. It would have scored lower, but because there are 2 songs in here that someone can work with, it leaves room for interpretation, so anyone can really listen to the record and see it from a different perspective, especially if you're a fan of theirs. I'm not, so I kind of looked at it subjectively or objectively. So I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5. Give it enough leeway for someone to kind of make a judgment call on that. But if there was just one song, which it was close to being, I would have gave it a 1.5, just because the album itself is a 1, but because there's a song on there that's good, it gains not an extra point, but kind of a compromise. So there you have it. Hailey Williams, Petals for Armor, and that is my rating.